Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. I'm excited. I'm excited about the show today. I'm excited about the guest that we have on the show. He's going to tell us about businesses. Some successful, some fail, but I think it's a combination of both in order to reach that sweet spot where you know how to really, maintain and handle and run a successful business. And I'm going to be listening to this young man today and pick up any pointers that he might want to share. And if you want to be part of this conversation, wherever you're watching this platform from, whatever platform you're watching the show, all you do is just go to the comments. Ask this great guest any question that you like. I promise you, I'll get you on the screen and we'll get you an answer. How you doing today, Dr. Michelle Cooley?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, we're excited about this guest, and the topic is so vast. It's big. We can go on for 4 hours. Actually, we can go on for days. But it's actually about reinvention through entrepreneurship. And, you know, I do believe a lot of people have reinvented themselves because of maybe situational or maybe that time or that purpose that they were involved in. It's time to move on. It's always good to reinvent yourself and do different things and just to see what else is out there because, goals and dreams we all have, in order to reach them and to achieve them, you have to reinvent yourself, but stay true to who you are.
Yeah, you have to stay in the now. A lot of people, I guess, business wise, entrepreneur wise, they don't want to change. They don't want to grow. They want to stay in back where this is how it used to be. But as time evolves, things changes, and mindset must change, especially if you want to be profitable in business. So, Michelle, I am excited about this show. Can you please tell our viewers, our listeners, the topic of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this fantastic guest to our viewers?
Yes, the title again of this show is called Reinvention Through Entrepreneurship. And we're getting to know the background of entrepreneur, author, real estate investor, and podcast host Raymond Sjolseth. And we're going to talk about the concept of reinvention, what that entails, and the rewards and challenges of entrepreneurship, because it's a great thing, but there's a lot to it. And we're going to talk about how failure may be embraced and how you are getting motivated to move forward. So let's talk about this amazing guest today, Raymond Sjolseth. Raymond has had the privilege of founding over 45 companies with 40 failures, 5 successes, and multiple exits. With 30 years in real estate investing, the majority of these companies were founded through real estate while not being industry related at all. He is the host of the Agent Podcast, which caters to real estate professionals, and hosts the Chicago Podcast, which caters to his local community. He's been in various industries, including lead lighting, consumables, consumer electronics, cabinetry, construction, and many more. He and his wife operate a husband and wife real estate team in Chicago land where he and his 5 kids and 3 dogs live. His focus is 100% in real estate through real estate sales, investing, coaching. His podcasts and books are dedicated to serving agents. So we're excited and very honored to have Mr. Raymond Sjolseth on our show today.
Hello, my new friends, Dr. JC and Dr. MC. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, I like that.
How you doing? How you doing?
Yeah, you guys are fantastic. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show, Raymond. Ray, can I call you Ray?
Yeah, please.
Ray, man, it's an honor having you on. A friend of yours and a friend of mine told us so much about you, and I said, let's get him on. And so, hey, welcome to the show again.
Yeah,
Raymond,
thanks for having me.
can you tell our audience a little bit about you, where you grew up,
Yeah,
where you
yeah.
from?
I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California. I currently live in Chicago. I tell everybody I moved here for the weather, which of course is not the case at all. I moved here when I owned an LED lighting company that was going through transition, and I had some broken parts of the business I needed to fix, and that's how I ended up in here. But I miss California. I miss the mountains. I'm an outdoors guy for sure. And yeah, like I said, currently live in Chicago, and I don't know where my next destination is, but for right now, it's home.
Wow. So you have had an opportunity to start over 45 businesses.
Yeah.
Over 45. Where do you get these ideas from?
Well, it started as opportunistic, where, I grew up in a situation where I was in survival mode the majority of my life. And I barely graduated high school. I did not go to college. And I was always in this in this place of scarcity, in this place of running out of, money before the month end. And I grew up in a very blue collar, work hard, keep your head down type of mentality. There's a lot of things I never learned. And one of those things I never learned was how to thrive, right? I only learned how to survive. So for me, there was always this constant grind to generate income, give to your family, take care of your family, help out with the household, do all these things. So I never really looked at it as a choice. But what happened is that as I went from this engineering company that I worked for, going to work for one of my clients, leaving that company and starting my own automotive company, that was early 20s, my journey into actually having that freedom of what it was like to own and operate my own company. I didn't do it by myself. I had a partner. That partnership did not work out. I ended up going to work for another client of mine in the automotive company doing some consulting. And since then, that just propelled me. One of the things was that I felt was holding me back is that I thought I needed permission to do a lot of things in my life. And the lesson I learned from that automotive company and the arrangement with my partner is that I didn't need permission. I needed to make a decision. And since then, I've been deciding what I'm going to do next while trying to break the habit of getting out of survival mode, right? A lot of us are in survival mode. We grew up in adverse or maybe not optimum circumstances, whatever that may mean to you. And we develop this mindset, and this mindset keeps us trapped in this life that maybe we don't want or that we know can be better.
You mentioned something that's so important, mindset. Because many do not want to change what they currently thinking, and they want to follow the same pattern that they thought was going to get them successful. Even with the change in the time and as we evolved into other eras, meaning kind of like from the 90s to the 2000, things change and mindset had to change, I believe. And so that was so important that you mentioned that.
Well,
Did you always wanted to be an entrepreneur? With 45, starting 45 businesses, something had to prompt you a long time ago to.
yeah. So JC, two things on that. Number one, here's a question for you. Do you think people don't want to change, or do you think people don't know how to change?
I think people are afraid of change.
Okay. I like that. Fear. Yeah. Fear's a
Um,
driver.
yeah, I think they are afraid to change. And I think that many of us are just set in our ways where you say don't want to. No, they don't want to change. It's set in a certain pattern. And anything that outside of that pattern, I believe, just scares them to death.
Yeah. So I think the answer to your question about entrepreneurship is that I was afraid. I was afraid that I wasn't going to be better or not good enough, or that I wouldn't fulfill my potential. And to this day, that's still one of my biggest fears, is that I'm not going to fulfill my potential and that I'm going to end up disappointing my future self. And
Wow.
that becomes important. And that's one of the lessons. Like, I'm sure we'll get into this at some point in the show, but I pretty much lost everything when COVID hit that I was in the process of rebuilding anyway. And I started asking myself some really deep questions. And the one thing I learned is that the only person I should really care about is my future self. Because if I'm making decisions based on who I am in 10 years, I'm asking completely different questions than who I am in the next 10 minutes, 10 hours, or 10 months, or 10 days. And if I'm focused on that and I'm focused towards building who future Ray looks like, I'm going to be in a much better spot versus living in what is and paying attention to maybe things that I don't want around me, right? And it's hard to do when we're in adversity or when we're in circumstances that we don't want. But it's something that if you can make a decision to get ahead of yourself and think bigger, you're going to be able to outlast the temporary pain that you're in at the moment. And that's a game changer for your life. And that's what pulls you forward, right? Because nobody wants to be pushed or dragged. But if you're pulled forward, it's a different feeling.
You know, man, you hitting all the key spots. Temporary change, being pulled forward, being able to let some of the fears go. Because I believe, Ray, if a person do not take risks, I'm not saying go out and take some stupid risks, and be able to change, there is no way that you're going to be able to be propelled forward because you don't want to take that next step. And I think that's what hold a lot of people back, is afraid to make the next step due to the fear of unknown, you know. And it's a story behind that I write in one of my books, where we talk about the road most traveled, road less traveled by Robert Frost.
Yeah.
And if you stay on the same path and you know what that is, and say you got a straight path and at the end you fall off the cliff, and you know that you're going to fall off the cliff, but you still want to stay on that path because everybody else went that way. Sometimes we have to be able to have vision where we can see other paths and jump on a different course in life. And I believe that's what will get us there.
Yeah, I don't remember who said this quote, but somebody brilliant said a quote, something like this. It said, the illiterate of the 21st century are those that can't unlearn and relearn. And I think in the world that we're in today, that is the best gift that you can give yourself, is the ability to unlearn and relearn. Because think about that statement, the ability to unlearn and relearn. Unlearn your habits, unlearn what doesn't work, unlearn what you've been doing, and relearn a new way, a new path, a new method, a new mindset, a new thought pattern. How much power does that give you, right?
You're absolutely right. Tell you what, hold that thought. We got to take a station break. But I tell you, as you see, we already started out. This is going to be good. And if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is just go to whichever platform you're watching it on. Just go to the comments. Ask Ray any question that you want to. Or yeah, if you want to jump in the conversation, you can do that as well. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll see you shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. We got something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can't be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can't be taken for granted. I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Hey, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you. Yeah.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, There is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, just sitting here having fun with Ray and just listening to how he explained a lot of these things. It makes sense. It makes sense. And if you want to be part of the conversation, come on now. I'm giving you the opportunity. Just go to the comments. Ask this great man any question that you like. And I see Samantha, she caught up on that growth mindset because you have to have a growth mindset. So you can ask this man any question that you like, and he's putting it down. He's putting it down. Ray, so you mentioned the word reinvent oneself. Reinvent oneself. And a lot of people probably got caught up on that and say, well, how can I reinvent oneself? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so reinvention to me means giving yourself permission to begin again, to start over, but it also means giving yourself permission to fail. Accepting what didn't work out, accepting where you are, accepting your circumstances. And until you actually accept what's happening, you can't move on. You can't begin again. And you can't start over. So you have to accept what's happening and embrace it. And once you begin again and you can start over, you can reinvent yourself. Your personality is your personal reality, and your personal reality is what you choose it to be. There's an amazing author. His name's Benjamin Hardy. He's written some amazing books. One of them is Personality Isn't Permanent. You aren't necessarily who you have to be. Like, you are who you think you are. So if you start to think different thoughts about yourself, you can be somebody different. You can change your reality. You can begin again. You can start over. You can reinvent yourself. The JC of 5 years ago is not the same JC as today. The JC today will not be the same JC 5 years from now. And that gap, that's reinvention. That's what that means. Like, if you want to change, you can change. You don't have to be who or where or how you are. But it's your life. You have to make a decision to actually do the work.
Say that again. It's what? It's your
life. It's your life.
That's the name of the show. I had to get that out of you again.
Yeah, trademarked and registered. Please do not use. Blah 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 blah.
Hey, I got a question from one of my old sailors that is watching the show. Like, K-Bird, how you doing? Hey, thanks for always everything that you do. He asked, how did you do with risk in entrepreneurship with your family and friends, and examples, or fall insurance or something?
Yeah. So is he asking me how much risk there is involved with?
I think he asked you, there is risk involved, and how do you go about determining how much are you willing to take risk on certain things without, like risk avoidance, passing risk, like with insurance, the pickup risk if something happens. So basically what I think he asked is, do you go in assuming the risks, or sometimes do you avoid the risk? It's a mindset thing, what I think.
Well, I think it's two things. I think, yes, there is such a thing as educated risk, or calculated risk, but sometimes you're not in a position to even have that luxury of making those considerations, right? Like when COVID hit, I was telling you guys backstage, I pretty much lost everything. I lost a $100 million contract that I had put in place for a new product that I launched and have a patent on that went away in May 2020 when the stock market took a hit and we all got locked down. I lost 75% of a consulting business. I lost all those clients. I literally lost one of my business partners to COVID, and he left behind a wife and 2 kids. And sometimes you're put in a place where you don't have a choice and you have to find a way out, right? And there's that saying that, hey, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Man, I was digging for years. Like literally, some days I feel like I'm still digging myself out of everything that COVID caused with me, my family, relationships, right? Partnerships, so much distraction, so much disruption, so much disaster in so many ways. But I believe in failing forward. Like I don't have a choice. I have 5 kids and a wife and people that are relying on me. And look, the first person I blame is me. And I take responsibility for it. And it's all my fault. That's how I wake up in the morning. Where I am is my fault, period. And I have to take responsibility for it. And it is painful to rebuild. It is painful to reinvent. It is painful to get up when you have no reason to get up and all you want to do is be an ostrich and put your hand in the sand. But that's not the right choice. That doesn't solve your problem. So every day I get up and I try. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, put in my AirPods, listen to podcast, audiobook, something mindset related, grab my coffee, let the dogs out, start the day. Pack the kids' lunches, get the kids ready, right? Depending upon the day, shower, work out, whatever. I keep moving forward, even if I don't want to move forward. But the one thing I'm constantly working on that I'm never giving up on is me. But I'm the only one that can do that. So it's my responsibility to determine if something is not working and unlearn and relearn a different path, right? I made products for 30 years, everybody. I didn't do all this digital stuff. I didn't show up in front of a camera and share my feelings and my opinion and my philosophies. This is new to me. It's taken a bit to get here, but it's by showing up every day, by having a podcast with over 150 episodes recorded and published, by having another local podcast where I'm constantly meeting other business owners and listening to their stories. The one thing I can promise you is that somebody else always has it way worse than you, right? If I wake up and my feet hit the floor, I thank God I have another opportunity, because that's the truth.
That is powerful. Yeah. And
It's facts.
You can tell that you do have a podcast or several of them because you're polished. I mean, everybody's not polished like that. I'm talking about with the thoughts, so 40 failed businesses.
Yep.
It could have been easy for you to just say, I'm not doing this no more. What drives you? What's inside you that when you have a business that failed, you go back, you look at things, and you find good in what was going good, but you also see bad. What determines how you go about thinking of your next business, meaning that the failures from this one also taught me a valuable lesson with this new business that I'm getting ready to do. Can you tell our viewers about that?
Yeah. So some of it literally has been opportunistic, right? Where I'm very open to new opportunities and things coming in via text message, email, Facebook, whatever. So I'll always look at an opportunity when it comes. Some of them made sense. A lot of them didn't. My filter is much more narrow today than it used to be, right? From experience, from making better decisions, because without making bad decisions, you can't learn to make good decisions. Like that's the reality of the life that we live. It's contrast. That's the gift that life gives us, is contrast, in the form of bad decisions, in the form of adversity, in the form of whatever it may be that you're like, man, why did this happen to me? Or what is happening? Or why am I attracting this? If you believe in vibration and the law of attraction and energy, and that we're all energy, all these different things. I've become much more woo-woo in my, old age, believing that we are literally universal energy. and we're all connected to some extent, if not 100% of the extent. But that is part of what drives my decisions today. And I'll tell you, JC, something hit me around maybe a year ago. And it was as I was like ramping up my podcast and, like I released my first book and I started going live a lot more on social media and putting myself out there. And today I have about 32 Facebook groups with partners with over 500,000 members. And I've captured a decent sized audience in a very short time to share and try to impact people with. And that was all intentional and all very hard work. And there was a lot of learning curve and I made a lot of mistakes while doing that. But I realized in 30 years of making products, my kids will never have any idea what I did, what I made, who I sold to, right? They're never going to see those products, consumables, electronics, LED lighting, whatever, like they're passive. They go away. They change, they evolve. But creating a podcast, writing a book, having a YouTube channel, my kids can get to know me. Their friends can get to know me. They can see the impact I have with people. They can read people's comments. They can read the reviews of a book that I published. They can read the reviews of a podcast. They can listen to my thoughts on a subject, whether it's about mindset, real estate, entrepreneurship. That is a gift. I think about that. Like that is true legacy, because God forbid something happened to me. Now all you have to do is Google me and you'll find out who I am and what I do and what I'm about. Yeah, that's only the digital side of me. It's not me in person, but one thing I pride myself on is being authentic and transparent.
And that is so needed in everything that we do, is being authentic and transparent. Now, we got about 2 minutes before the break, but I want to ask this question because a lot of people probably think, wow, I'm afraid to take a chance on starting, becoming an entrepreneur. But there are rewards to that, and there are challenges to that. Can you talk a couple of minutes about the rewards and the challenge to being an entrepreneur, starting your own business?
Yeah, I think in the world we live in today, this is not going to happen overnight, but I think what's coming is there's 8 billion people in the world. Eventually there may be 8 billion businesses, and I know the population is going to continue to grow, but the more connected we get through digital life, platforms, metaverse, virtual worlds, whatever you want to call them, the more opportunity there is going to be for all of us to have our own business and our own unique niche. And our niche is us. Like we are the niche. We are what makes a business special, because each of us act different, think different, produce different music, write different music, write different words, think different thoughts, can share a different perspective. And that's the magic of business. That's why all these different businesses exist, right? Nike can be Nike, Vans can be Vans, Chuck Taylors can be Chuck Taylors, Apple can be Apple, Android can be Android, Google Pixel can be Google Pixel. There's users for everything. And yeah, there's mass adopters. There's people that drive Volkswagens and people that drive Teslas. But
you're right. We're going to take a station break. We're going to come back. We're going to pick it up from there.
All right. Sounds good. JC.
This is so exciting. And if you're just sitting on the sideline, I know you got questions that you want to ask. Ask Ray any question that you like. I promise you, I'll get you on the screen and then we'll get you an answer. It's your life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll see you shortly after the break. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and just doing the break, just thinking about all the great things that Ray is sharing with us, and successes and failures, and how we need to have the right mindset in order to actually get it right. And to my if you want to be an entrepreneur, or if you are an entrepreneur, certain things, certain process, and primarily right mindset. And so I want to pick it up with that again, Ray. And
Yeah.
again, and I think Phyllis just said, she's commenting. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
We've been conditioned to stay in situations longer than we should. Once we realize that it's okay to live our dreams, then the fears will go away. That is so true. And
Yeah. And I think that's a good place to pick up, JC. You mind if I jump in right there?
right, you got it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, right? Because we think, where is the risk? Is the risk me leaving my full-time job? Is the risk me losing my salary? Depends what your end goal is. I have one goal. All my goals fit on one page, one piece of paper that I look at every day. It's in my office, in my closet, in my gym. Complete time freedom. And in order to have complete time freedom, I need financial freedom. In order to have financial freedom, I have to decide how much money I need, how much money I can make, and take control of my life. That is the core reason I've stuck with entrepreneurship, even through the bad times. And I'll never forget, when I was about 19, 20 years old, I worked for an engineering company. I made really good money. This is back in let me see, 1996, maybe. I made like 50, 55 grand a year working for this engineering company. I bought my first house at 18, 19. It was a foreclosure for 60 grand in California, put 10 grand into it, lived in it, had a race car that I built at this engineering company, but it was my race car. Had a daily driver, 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, beautiful, like 19, 20 years old, right? Helping my family. I was making great money. But I'll never forget when I asked my boss what was next for me and told him that, okay, what's the next step? I want to make more money. And he told me I had nowhere to go and he wouldn't pay me any more money because I'm already making too much money for my age. That was the day I decided there is no way I'm ever letting somebody dictate what my future looks like. Because
Wow.
what gave that dude the right to decide how much money I'm worth or how much I'm trading my time for, if you want to look at it that way? So my question to everybody out there who's afraid to make a move, who's afraid to leave a somewhat guaranteed or stable situation. Look, if COVID taught us anything, you just don't know what's going to happen, period. We're not in control. It's an illusion, right? But we can make better decisions. So if you're in a position where you're thinking about entrepreneurship, take your time, vet it out, make sure you have some cash set aside, and then make your move. But there's still no guarantee, guys. You could have everything lined up, think it's perfect, and then there could be a health crisis. God forbid something happened with one of your children. That's why in my heart, I don't believe there's a right or wrong time to do something. You do something when it feels right, period. Trust your intuition, trust your gut, trust yourself. Invite yourself into your life and make a decision to own it. Don't let somebody else dictate that. Like, life is way too short.
You mentioned something, and another one of my teachings is know yourself. Know everything about you, the individual, good and the bad. I mean, identify all the pros, all the good, but also identify all the bad. I'm talking about truthfully, not what the image that you want to show everybody else out there. But you have to be honest and truthful to yourself. And once you do that, you have just like looking in the mirror. Whatever coming from the reflection, that is you. Accept who you are. Know yourself. Accept yourself. love yourself before you share yourself. And with those things, I believe if we have confidence in ourselves, we're able to trust our intuition, make the right decision, know that no one has any control over you, because whichever decision you make, that's you making the decision, not what other people want you to do. You know, so can you pick it up from there?
Yeah, JC, we are not taught that, right? We are taught to show up, follow the rules, do what we're told, and go get a good job. Right? Like, to some degree. What if we were taught how to think? What if we were taught the effects of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset? What if we were taught the effects of a being optimistic versus pessimistic? What if we were taught that we actually create our future by choosing our thoughts and creating the path forward? What if we were taught that thoughts equal feelings and feelings equal actions? What would that be like? What do you think your life would be like if we started over and we were taught to think better? We would get completely different results. But we are all products of our environment. We come into this world a blank canvas, okay? But we're not in control. Our environment is in control. Wherever you grew up, wherever your family lived, wherever you were dropped into, they get to paint your canvas first. Fair or not fair doesn't matter. It's how it works, right? So we come in as a blank canvas, somebody else paints our canvas, and then we have to go figure out how to paint over our canvas. Well, guess what? Here's what happens when you try to paint over a canvas. The paint always bleeds through. You got to stop trying to paint over the canvas. Scrap the canvas, create a new one, and start over. That's the power of reinvention. That's the power of entrepreneurship. That's the power of mindset. But you have to own it. You have to take ownership of that. You have to be convicted. And guys, it is hard work. It is self-battle like no other. But to give yourself the space to do that, most people won't understand. Most people will call you crazy, tell you you're selfish, this, that, and the other thing. You have to be resilient. I'll tell you the one thing that I've learned as an entrepreneur for now 30 plus years, I've grown really thick skin, right? I consider myself somewhat of a dinosaur at this point. It takes a lot to cut me. And that is hard. That is hard when you are in a relationship, when you value what somebody else thinks about you, when you value what kids and family and friends think about you, and they're all looking at you sideways when you're trying to build something massive. You know how many people told me my companies would fail that succeeded and made hundreds of millions of dollars? My own spouse at the time, my own family at the time. Like, why are you wasting your time doing this? Like, it's never going to work. Nobody cares about this. Nobody cares about that. All of that kept, like, what I've learned is when people tell me that, I know I'm doing something right.
That's what I mean by knowing yourself and trusting yourself. I'm talking about you. There are always going to be naysayers out there. And if a person allows somebody else to dictate every little step that they take, sometimes, they might be giving you all right advice, but most of the time they don't want you to be more successful than them. So they're not going to share everything with you. And therefore, if I believe that you have to just have this conviction where if you truly believe in you, your abilities, can't nobody stop it. Ray, can't nobody hold you down. Can't nobody set you back.
Everybody's experience is subjective. It's subjective to their life, right? So I don't want to take advice from anybody that's never built $100 million plus company. I'm uninterested. It's not personal. It's not.
It's not personal, and you're right. I wouldn't. If somebody That's case in point. If a person do not have, say, kids, right? And you go to them, you got 3, 4 kids, you go to them trying to get some parent advice from them. How can they give you any type of advice? And they never raised any kids. They don't know anything about raising kids. You know, and that's what many of us do when it comes to tell me what I need to do. Just tell me what I need to do. Oh no. This is how I get out of that. I say, if it was me, this is what I would do, but I'm never going to tell somebody what to do, because if it fail, I mean, they ain't gonna have an opportunity to blame me, because
Yeah, that's right. No finger pointing.
We got a K-Bird is asking you a question, and we got about 2 minutes before the break. As a parent, how do you, as a parent, teach entrepreneurship?
Oh, that is a great question. So I teach entrepreneurship to my kids by telling and sharing exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I give the illusion of money, right? Where if you have 2 choices in this life, you can dictate how much money you make, or somebody else can dictate how much money you make. So what sandbox do you want to play in? If you want to dictate how much money you make, that means you're basing it on how much money you think you're worth, right? So I'm a believer that if you can focus on teaching kids self-esteem, they will be limitless. But if they don't have self-esteem, they don't have self-worth, they don't have self-value, they are not aware, that's when we get into challenges. But if we can teach them to be aware, if we can teach them to have self-value and self-worth and build up that self-esteem and realize that they are limitless and that the only person deciding how much they're worth or what they should be doing is them, that's a game changer. I don't care what my kids do. I care that they are happy and they have the life that they want, but they have to design that life, not submit to what the rest of the world thinks it should be.
Fantastic answer. We're going to take a station break, but when we get back, because we ain't even talked about real estate yet, and we haven't talked about your book, and we haven't talked about your podcast and television and radio and all that stuff. But we're going to talk about it when we get back. And if you want to be part of this great conversation, you still got time. You still got time. It's your life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phrases and stages. These experiences teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to It's Your Life with James Cooley. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the J.C. Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and overcome adversity. It's time to get you equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and I'm just sitting here, just really wishing that I had another hour to chat with this guy. He's incredible, and you already know he's incredible, and he's bringing it, and just the way that he putting and laying it out there, you can feel it. You can feel it. And I love to have guests on where I can just feel what they're saying, because I know what it is. I know what it's like to be a business owner. I know what it's like to fail. But I also know what it's like to taste success. And ultimately, I believe that that's what everyone wants to do, is be able to be successful in whatever you are doing. And so my next question to Ray is, Ray, how do you measure success?
Ooh, well, there's a famous Tony Robbins quote that says, I think it's happiness is the progression of a worthwhile goal, something like that. Don't quote me exactly. But I think, growing up the way that I had in my specific situation, I know we didn't get into that, I never learned how to feel. I never learned how to understand my feelings. I learned how to compartmentalize them. I learned how to bury them. I learned how to not share, not talk, but I never learned how to feel. So, the irony and the chances of me being here today live with you amazing folks is like, this is success to me, right? Being here, meeting new people, developing relationships, sharing with the world, making an impact. This is success to me. This is how I measure success. It's not financial. It's not wealth. It's I'm here sharing, giving, making an impact, and doing things to help inspire people to be better. To me, that's success. Like, I'm not where I want to be financially, but I know I'll be there in the future because I have it in my mind. I'm visualizing it. I'm doing the things every day that are assuring my success. Does it always come fast enough? No. But if I stop thinking about it and I start just doing the work to show up that has to be done, I'll get there. And one of the questions that I ask myself every single day when I make decisions on what I'm doing and what I'm focusing on is, if I do this 1,000 times, will I hit my goal? Right? If I call 1,000 people, will I sell some houses? Yeah. If I go on and record 1,000 podcast episodes, will my podcast catch some traction? Yeah. If I go on and be a guest to these amazing shows like here on It's Your Life 1,000 times, will I build a personal brand and impact people? Yes. So that's one of the questions that I challenge everybody here with me to ask. How do you measure success? And if you do what you continue to do every day 1,000 times, are you going to hit your goal? If the answer is no, or no too many times in a row, then there's a good chance some things need to change. Right? Look, we all have our bad days. We all have our days where we don't feel good. Kids don't feel good. School gets canceled. There's a teacher in service day, death in the family, whatever it may be, that things don't go right. But that's not every day. That may be 20% of our life. So what are we doing with the rest of the 80% that we can justify success? And what does that look like for you? What are you thinking, and what decisions are you making that leads you towards success?
You know what? Those are great questions, and I hope our viewers and our listeners are taking all of that in. I want to change it a little bit because I want to talk about your books. I know you guys,
Sure.
You just released a book. You got others coming out. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about the book you just released, and where they can get it at, and so?
Yeah. So the first book I co-wrote with a buddy of mine, Walter Key. He's a fellow real estate professional. Awesome dude. Shout out to Walt. It's called The Startup Agent. And I started writing this book and then invited Walt to join me because of who he is and his contributions to the book. And really what The Startup Agent is it's a framework for a business but it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper into who you are as a person. In this book, we talk about the structure of building a brand, of marketing, of generating leads based on your personality, of being able to focus forward and develop your mindset. The chapter 1 is mindset. That's where we start. But we go way deeper. We get into making decisions and creating a vision and setting a goal from the decisions and the vision, and then creating the habits and having the discipline. That alone is 5 chapters. And that's important because the program that I run today is called Be Better, Build Better. And the whole point of it, why I named it what I did, is that in order to build anything better, you have to be better. It starts inside. This life, this thing we call life, is an inside job. And if we can be better, we can build whatever we want. But we have to have the capacity to decide what we want, to have the vision of what it looks like, to set the goal, to go and do the work to get it, to install the habits, the tiny little habits of laying brick by brick by brick every day, and the discipline to keep showing up even when you don't want to.
You hit that on the nose. We've got 3 minutes to go on the show. And it's tell us a little bit about your podcast and what people can watch and listen to that. And what it's called.
Yeah, so the book you can buy on Amazon, The Startup Agent. Feel free to message me. I'll send you the link. The podcast is called The Agents Podcast, THEAGENTS podcast.com. The podcast it's really a business podcast. I geared it towards agents because that's my audience. But honestly, 80% of it is about being better. It's about ourselves and listening to ourselves and how we actually fuel the business. And business is very personal, and a lot of people don't understand that. That's why some of the greats, the Steve Jobs, the Bill Gates, the Elon Musk, their businesses are built on them. And then they become these living, breathing machines, right? They hire people that are bigger, better, smarter than them. They know that who, not how, is the magic to help them fulfill their dream. And we talk a lot about that stuff on the Agents podcast.
Wow. So how you said you send a link, or you can put it in the comments so I can post it. Okay. One last question. If you had an opportunity today to go back and speak to your younger version 20, 30 years ago, what would Ray tell Ray?
Ray would tell Ray to learn to put on your own oxygen mask first, and that you don't need permission to be yourself. And that the most valuable, incredible, successful life you will ever get is having belief in yourself and doing what you feel you should be doing.
Incredible show, my friend. If you have time, I want to get you back on because there's so much that we did not get a chance to.
I would be honored, JC. This has been amazing.
Yeah, so tell our viewers or our listeners again how they can get in touch with you if they want to.
Guys, just go to my website, RaymondSjolseth.com, RaymonDSJOLSETH.com. Feel free to friend me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. Send me a message. I'd love to connect with you.
Thanks so much, Ray. We're going to get you back on this. So I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another extraordinary show. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning into the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Always, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life.